Hello there! In the last video, we looked at some of the overarching rules of the Magic the Gathering multiverse. If you haven't watched that video, go watch that video, because otherwise this video might be a tad confusing. And trust me, you want to understand this video. There's going to be a lot of horrific eldritch beings, and horrific eldritch beings are pretty cool. And with that, on to the show. Our story today begins on a plane called Zendikar. Zendikar is a beautiful plane, overflowing with magic energy, or mana. It has luscious jungles, floating islands, mysterious stone hedrons, and cup waterfalls. But this abundance of mana is eventually what spelled doom for Zendikar. Back in the days before the Mending, 3 ancient planeswalkers were working together to seal away these even more ancient, even more powerful beings called the Eldrazi. What the Eldrazi did is go from plane to plane and devour a plane's mana, leaving behind only ruinous wastes of chalk and bismuth. But you might be thinking, but wait, you said only planeswalkers could travel between planes. Are these things planeswalkers? That's a very good question, but no, these things are specifically not planeswalkers. Nobody knows for certain, but it's believed that the Eldrazi, including the 3 Titan Eldrazi, Emrakul, Kozilek, and Ulamog, all stem from one being that exists within the Blind Eternities, that space between the planes. When you see an Eldrazi on a plane, it's more like the plane is a pond that being in the Blind Eternities is reaching its hand into, while remaining outside the pond itself. To the fish in the pond, that hand might seem huge and monstrous, but they have no idea of the true monstrosity that's outside the pond. So these beings, the Eldrazi, were going about their business devouring planes when 3 planeswalkers said to each other, "Hey, maybe we should stop these things from devouring countless innocent lives and planes? Maybe?" These 3 planeswalkers were Sorin Markov the Vampire, Ugin the Spirit Dragon, and Nahiri the Kor. Kor are pale-skinned humanoids only native to select planes. On the plane of Zendikar, Nahiri's home plane, the 3 combined their magic specialties to lay a trap for the Eldrazi. Sorin lured them with his blood magic, Nahiri built their cage, a series of large stone hedrons, and Ugin aligned those hedrons, carving into them draconic runes that would bind the Eldrazi. With the hedrons amplifying the plane's mana, with the help of Sorin's blood magic, the Eldrazi were lured to the lush and bountiful Zendikar, which was ripe for the devouring. Once the Eldrazi arrived, the 3 planeswalkers focused their power on a single point, which locked the hedron network into place, trapping the Eldrazi. Remember the pond metaphor from before? This would be like having that man outside the pond getting his hand caught in a bear trap. Thus, the Eldrazi were bound to Zendikar, unable to ravish any other planes. The only way to release them would be if all 3 planeswalkers gathered at the nexus of the hedrons, what's called the Eye of Ugin, and have Ugin's colorless magic undo the locking spell. So, Nahiri remained on Zendikar to watch over it, while Sorin and Ugin went to watch over their home planes and figure out what the next step would be. But it was agreed upon that if ever there was an issue with the Eldrazi, they would answer to Nahiri's summons. But, surprise surprise, when the hedron system started failing and the spawn of the Titans began to roam the plane, neither Sorin nor Ugin answered Nahiri's call. Nahiri managed to repair the ley lines by herself, however, and left Zendikar in search of her missing allies. And with that, she disappeared for good, leaving no one to watch over Zendikar. Things were pretty peachy on Zendikar for about 1,000 years or so. But remember the Eye of Ugin? Yeah, that failsafe ended up backfiring big time. It just so happened that 3 planeswalkers had a gathering at the Eye, orchestrated by this big baddie, Nicol Bolas, for unknown reasons. The planeswalkers were Sargon Vol, who was sent to guard the Eye by Bolas, Chandra Nalaar, who was following a map that led to the Eye, and Jace Beleren, who was following Chandra. Sargon attempted to stop the 2 from entering the Eye, and during the ensuing battle, Jace and Chandra realized that their colored magic was ineffective. Thus, Chandra used a colorless ghost fire spell she had learned. With those elements in place, the 3 planeswalkers and the colorless spell, the hedron network was weakened. It wasn't full-on broken, but all it would need was one little shove to let the Eldrazi roam free once more. While the Titan Eldrazi themselves were still sealed away, that disturbance in the ley lines caused their spawn to be unleashed, like they had been 1,000 years ago. Sorin, sensing this disturbance, finally returned to the plane, looking to seal the Eldrazi like Nahiri had done the first time they almost escaped. Enlisting the help of the elf planeswalker Nissa Ravane, he traveled to the Eye of Ugin, intent on repairing the failing binding magic. Once there, however, Nissa had other plans. Zendikar was her home plane, and she hated seeing it tormented so. She believed that if they were freed, the Eldrazi would leave the plane, so she broke the bonds entirely, against Sorin's will. Unfortunately, that brilliant plan backfired. Since the Eldrazi had been imprisoned for eons, they found themselves unable to leave Zendikar at first, and thus were free only to ransack that plane that they were on. It was then the planeswalker Gideon Jura arrived on the plane, after having followed Chandra with the hopes of helping her traverse Zendikar's perilous terrain. He came at a bad time, however, and came face to squirming massive tentacles with the Titan Emrakul. Seeing that he could not combat this Eldrazi menace alone, he set out for Ravnica, the plane-wide metropolis, vowing to return with help. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, whatever you feel like, if you liked the video. Or if you didn't, I'm more than happy to accept any criticism on it. I want to improve this series as much as I can. So next time I'm going to delve into actual Battle for Zendikar lore, followed by Oath of the Gatewatch the following week, if all goes as planned. So, again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.